Warning, the following video is intended for mature audiences. The date is July 10, 1976, and an ominous cloud from the ICMESA plant looms over the city of Seveso, Italy. Citizens were oblivious to the magnitude of the consequences. Roughly 17,000 citizens were unaware of the impending doom this mysterious cloud would have on them. Over the coming weeks, the consequences became quickly apparent. Fast forward to 2019, and we are in Lubbock, Texas. In the chemical process industry, inherently unsafe practices are considered especially heinous. In Lubbock, Texas, dedicated students of Texas University who investigate these events are part of an elite squad called the Safe Processes Unit, and these are their stories. It was a normal day at the ICMESA plant. A batch reaction to form trichlorophenol, an intermediate for hexachlorophene, which is an herbicide used in agriculture, started Friday evening at 4 p.m. The reaction was formed from trichlorobenzene with sodium hydroxide. The reaction needed to be heated to occur and was done using steam at 12 bar and 190 degrees Celsius, which resulted in a reaction temperature of 158, which was very close to the boiling point. In addition, prior safety testing showed an onset of an exothermic side reaction at a critical temperature of 230 degrees Celsius. Operators at the plant had no access to steam temperature readings. A crucial mistake. At 4:45 a.m. the following day, the reaction had finished and heating was stopped. 15 minutes later, the agitator was stopped and operators left the plant. The final steps in the reaction involved removal of ethylene glycol by distillation and cooling of the system with a water injection. These events were interrupted as much of the plant had already been shut down in accordance with Italian law to shut down plants over the weekend. The plant was thus shut down when the reaction mixture was still at 150 degrees and only 15% of the ethylene glycol was removed. Additionally, the reactor was never cooled by water injection. The turbine supplying system was operating with more power since the rest of the plant had been shut down and steam was still being supplied, but now at 300 degrees Celsius. Since operators had no temperature readings, they were unaware of the continued heating happening in the reactor. With no mixing by the agitator, the reactor developed a hotspot that heated the adjacent reaction mixture. 1237. The rupture disk operated, giving relief to the increased pressure and temperature inside the reactor, leaking the mysterious vapor into the atmosphere and over the unsuspecting citizens of Seveso, Italy. 5 days later, the presence of a highly toxic chemical, dioxin, was confirmed in the company laboratory. Local government wasn't informed for another 5 days, and finally on July 24th, 14 days after the initial release, local residents were instructed to evacuate.
(2,378) tetrachlorodibenzo-p-dioxin, TCDD, also known as dioxin, is odorless and colorless solid at room temperature. Dioxin is highly toxic to mammals. Exposure routes include ingestion, inhalation, skin absorption, and eye contact. Upon ingestion, death will shortly follow. If inhaled, it irritates the respiratory system, harms the reproductive system, causes birth defects, weakens the immune system, and destroys the liver and kidneys. When exposed to the eyes, serious eye damage occurs. Extensive animal studies have shown that dioxin is a carcinogen. It is also highly toxic to aquatic life and can have lasting effects. Even though nobody died immediately, there were problems to humans. Several symptoms began to arise a few days after the event, such as nausea, blurred vision, skin lesions, and chloracne. The chloracne was quite severe among children. Several pregnant women decided to have abortions to avoid having a baby with birth defects. There are many long-term effects of the disaster, with research still being done to find more. The affected area is known as a living laboratory because it is constantly being tested for the effects of dioxin. In 2008, it was documented that babies born from mothers in the affected area were nearly 16 times more likely to develop altered thyroid function. In 2009, it was found that there is an increase in breast and lymphatic cancers in the affected area. This is Justin Davis with SPU speaking with local Federico Giamaco Fumagalli with his translator,
Kerwin Villarda.
Tell us about your experiences following the day after the accident.
Parlaci delle tue esperienze nei giorni seguenti all'incidente.
Ma è successo tutto un po' di fretta, è stato molto scioccante, nessuno sapeva molto cosa è successo, a parte il fatto che all'ICMESA a Seveso c'è stato un incidente. Molta gente pensava che non era molto serio, c'era roba di politica e c'entravano i soldi, però poi dopo un paio di giorni si è capito che era un po' più grave. Al telegiornale hanno cominciato a rilasciare delle foto con i bambini che avevano la pelle bruciata, bambini che avevano la roba al viso. Da lì si è capito che era una cosa un po' più grave. Poi dopo siamo andati avanti, io e i miei amici abbiamo un po', abbiamo un po' fatto delle domande, abbiamo un po' indagato così e si è veramente capito che era qualcosa che non andava bene. Poi il governo veramente non si è capito perché non stavano rilasciando notizie, poi al telegiornale era un po' così, quindi non abbiamo veramente capito molto cosa è successo, però è stato molto scioccante.
Alright, so he said that it was all very sudden and very shocking. No one really knew what was happening, just that there had been an accident in ICMESA facility in Seveso. Initially, many of my friends thought that this was a scheme of politicians to make money, and others who didn't know what to believe anyone. Personally, I didn't really know what to think. Then a few days later, we were all shocked. The news showed the pictures of the kids with burns, and they started evacuating the area where the plant was, and they called this Zone A. And that's when all they realized that it was very serious, and that it wasn't just an act. People had to leave their homes, and it was very horrible.
Wow. Okay, thank you for sharing. Do you know what the impact of the disaster was?
Sai cosa è stato l'impatto di questo disastro?
Ma no, sinceramente all'inizio non ho ben capito, è andato avanti un paio di settimane però non ci è stato detto niente. Poi ho capito che l'impatto era qualcosa di veramente grave, ci hanno detto di non consumare la verdura, non consumare la frutta, non consumare animali e a quel punto poi dopo c'è stato veramente, lì era veramente il disastro, che non si poteva consumare niente. Poi ho continuato a sentire i miei amici, anche i macellai e via dicendo, che dovevano ammazzare tantissimi animali per non fare che sì, che questa diossina entrasse nel nostro ecosistema. È andata avanti poi così, ci hanno detto continuamente di non mangiare niente, poi ci hanno detto di evacuare, però l'impatto io non so bene cosa è successo, so solo che ci hanno detto di non consumare queste cose, di non fare certe cose e poi basta. Oltre a quello a noi non ci hanno detto molto, anche i miei amici so che non sono capaci di sapere queste cose, quindi sinceramente l'impatto non lo conosco.
So he said that not really. They didn't really tell us much at all, I think because they weren't sure of the gravity of the situation. But it was clear in the following weeks that it was very bad. The trees and plants around the factory started to die, animals were found dead more and more every day. It was very disturbing. Finally, the children started showing symptoms of chloracne. Eventually, a few weeks after the incident, the fence off what became known as the Zone A, and the mayor told us not to touch any one of the plants or animals near the area. He said he was scared, he didn't know what to do, or if he had already been exposed.
Okay. Personally, what is your opinion of the incident?
Qual è la tua opinione su quello che è successo?
Ma personalmente, guarda, io abitavo in quella zona, quindi per me è stata una cosa veramente disastrosa. Secondo me tutti questi impianti chimici, petrochimici e robe del genere devono avere qualche responsabilità verso noi cittadini che non abbiamo niente a che fare con loro, cioè queste cose qui non devono succedere, qualcuno deve pagare per quello che hanno fatto, secondo me. Poi non so, io questi impianti qui non conosco bene, non so molto cosa fanno, però secondo me è proprio una cosa di principio che non dovrebbero fare. Sai, continuano a buttare tante di queste cose nei fiumi, nei laghi e robe del genere, per me non va bene, non è una cosa che andrebbe bene. Quindi dopodiché non so, poi dopo si può andare avanti e vediamo un attimo loro come rispondono, però secondo me qualcuno deve pagare e poi vedremo adesso andando avanti nei giorni così come procedono le cose. Però ultimamente secondo me quella è la mia opinione.
Alright, so what he said is that he don't really know. He thinks that the company owes a responsibility to the public to avoid things like this. It's very tragic that it all happened. He thinks that the people responsible for this needs to be brought up to justice and something has to be done. He just hoped that the area can recover from this. And it was heartbreaking for him to see all of the families get destroyed. And he thinks something needs to be done about all the factories dumping all the harmful stuff in the backyard. And he just said it was just unfair.
Oh, okay. Really sorry for your loss. Thank you so much for being with us.
Grazie.
Many animals, especially chicken and rabbits, were slaughtered in order to prevent people from eating them. An estimated 80,000 animals were slaughtered in Seveso. Another side effect has been noticed in future generations who all have a higher rate of cancer than normal. The slow release of information from ICMESA and telling the public that dioxin was released added to the difficulties the Seveso natives experienced. Luckily, the Italian government aided the city in compensating for the people affected and made sure the soil and plants were toxin-free. After the city recovered from the incident, a cleanup process took place, bringing the city back to life. What could have turned into an abandoned area such as Chernobyl, Seveso has recovered well and built a park around the affected areas. Underneath the surface remains the houses, poisoned dirt, and remaining artifacts from the disaster. The Health and Safety Executive of the UK did a case study to determine what technical failings transpired leading to the release of a highly toxic chemical. The HSE found the following failures that led to the release. Proper operating procedures were not being practiced when the agitator was disabled, and cooling of the reaction not completed. Additionally, the operators had no temperature measurements on the steam being supplied to the reactor jacket, so the heating of the reactor was unknown, leading to the onset of the runaway reaction. The rupture disk was set to 3.5 bar to prevent excessive pressure in the reactor. However, if the disk had been set lower at 2.5, relief would have occurred at a much safer temperature, limiting the chances for the runaway reaction to occur. The company performed inadequate testing of the hazardous reaction, resulting in the unknown critical temperature of an exothermic side reaction. Finally, the rupture disk manufacturer recommended using a second receiver to catch toxic materials, but no such device was fitted. The plant had no method of recovery and destroying anything released from the reactor. On September 1983, the Criminal Court of Monza sentenced 5 employees of ICMESA, Factory President Guy Waldvogel, Managing Director Herwig von Zwell, Plant Designer Fritz Mori, and Technical Directors Georg Anton Sambeth and Giovanni Radis. They were convicted on a charge of responsibility for disaster and failure to provide adequate safety measures. Von Zwell and Sambeth, both West Germans, each received 5-year sentences, and Mori and Waldvogel, both Swiss, 4 years each. They were convicted on a charge of responsibility for disaster and failure to provide adequate safety measures. Court officials explained that Von Zwell and Sambeth would have to serve 2 years in jail, each while Mori and Waldvogel would spend only 1 year behind bars. The court found Radis, an Italian, guilty on a lesser charge of responsibility and handed him a sentence of 2.5 years, but because of the amnesty provisions, he would not have to serve any time in jail. On May 23, 1986, the Supreme Court in Rome confirmed the charges against the 2 remaining defendants, Waldvogel and Zwell. The Seveso disaster is one of the worst chemical accidents in history. Because of the severity, many safety regulations were implemented and reinforced to further prevent this from reoccurring. Closely following the event, a European community formed what was called the Seveso Directive, and the Basel Convention of the United Nations was accepted. The purpose of the Seveso directive was aimed at preventing major accidents involving dangerous substances, and it has been updated in 1996, 2008, and 2012. These much harsher regulations give more dangerous substances more rigorous requirements. Following, the Basel Convention was implemented to reduce the movements of hazardous waste between nations. The hopes was to prevent transfer of hazardous waste from developed to less developed countries.